I'm Raymond. You're watching RPadTV, and thank you guys so much for hanging out with Paul and I today. Paul and me, sorry. Today, Paul and I are going to talk about Sandman Season 2 on Netflix, the adaptation of the excellent comic books from Neil Gaiman, who, well, we'll talk about him a bit later. But Paul, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's just very, very warm here in sunny Los Angeles. A little too warm for my tastes, but
It is warmer here, but also too warm for my tastes in Las Vegas. Although it has been a mild summer, relatively speaking. It still gets like 110 out during the day, but at night it's been in the 70s and 80s instead of 90 degrees, which I always found weird. So let us kick things off with our bite-sized reviews of the Sandman Season 2. Paul, what do you got for me?
Like the first, this season of The Sandman does a great job of bringing Neil Gaiman's iconic comic book series to life, and in ways that are less cliche than what I just said.
Excellent. I went with The Sandman Season of Mist is one of my favorite comic book arcs of all time. It changed my idea of what comics could be, similar to how the Beatles' Rubber Soul changed music for me. It was a dream, get it? Seeing it adapted in The Sandman Season 2 on Netflix. So yes, obviously, this Season of Mist was a pretty big deal for me. It came out in 1990, so I don't know if I read it right when it came out, but it wasn't too long thereafter. But yeah, it was transformative to the way I viewed comics and what they could be. So Season 2 of The Sandman, also a big deal for me. Let us start with what you liked best about the show, Paul. What was your favorite aspect of The Sandman Season 2?
For me, and this applies to both seasons, it's mostly the cast. The cast are just so good. Everybody's really, really good. And in fact, before we started, you said something about the quality of the show, and I said to you that the only thing that really didn't like about this season was that we didn't get to spend as much time with certain cast members as I would have liked. Like Desire. I think the guy who plays Desire is fantastic, or the person who plays Desire. Sorry.
Yes.
And I would have liked more with them. I would have liked more with Gwendolyn Christie's character.
Yes, Satan.
Up until the very end, I would have said I wanted to see more with Death, but then Death got her own episode, which was super cool, and I was like, okay. So that was,
to be fair, Desire had a pretty prominent role in Season 1.
Right, but that's why I wanted more in Season 2. So
did you get Desire always gave, or the actor that played Desire, I'm like, wow. 20 years ago, this would have been awesome if Eddie Izzard was playing Desire. I thought that would have been cool.
And it also gives me Lady Gaga vibes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like I could see them playing Lady Gaga in something, or like a Lady Gaga-ish character.
Yeah,
in
for
something.
Sure. Certainly has the wardrobe for it for this show.
Yeah,
but yeah, I feel very similarly. But what I preferred about Season 2 is that we got to spend more time with the endless hanging out with each other.
Right.
And I love all these characters. They're all different embodiments of nature's forces. So going from left to right, we have Death, Despair, Destiny, Desire, and Delirium, who was formerly Delight, but we never find out why that change happened in both the comics and the show. Also, I didn't realize going into Season 1 that Adrian Lester was going to be in the show. He played a character in one of my favorite movies, Primary Colors. So it was kind of cool seeing him. I think that movie's pretty old because that was based on the Clintons. So
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I got a kick out of seeing like these embodiments, like the embodiment of Death having a sisterly relationship to Dream. I mean, just just seeing them humanized like that. I really enjoyed that.
The one funny thing for me, which you probably didn't have because you're not as into this as I am, is that the brother that left, I don't remember which one that was.
Destruction.
The actor is one of the guys who does like a main character, voice character in the Call of Duty games. And like, it was weird because at first I was like, why does he sound like that dude from Call? And I had to look it up. I'm like, oh God, that is him. Wow. It was just weird because he's got a very distinctive voice.
Yes.
You know, it's like whenever you hear H. John Benjamin, you're like no matter what he's doing, you're like, oh, that's H. John Benjamin.
I would have gone with Charlie Day personally. Like for me, he has that voice that is only Charlie Day and no one else sounds like that. There's a few. There's a bunch of people like that where you're like, okay, that's got to be that person. Like, there's no getting around it. How about your favorite episode or favorite arc in this season? Which is, I guess you can divide into 3 parts if you want.
I didn't really have a favorite. Well, if I had to say my favorite episode, it would be the death episode, but in large part because that's the only sort of standalone episode. And I had wanted since season 1 to see more with death and that the actress that plays her. And that was always a story that I always thought was kind of interesting anyway. But my favorite arc, and I don't know what it's called, because I read all these books years ago. Is the one where Satan basically abdicates. And hands the keys to Dream, and then he's like, "Okay, everybody, come over to my house. We're gonna hash this out."
Yeah, that's Season of Mist. Season of Mist.
Oh, that is okay. I thought Season was something different, but so that one was really cool, and it weirdly reminded me of like an Agatha Christie story where like all the people are in a house and somebody gets murdered and like they've got it all figured out, which is weird because I've never read an Agatha Christie book in my entire life. I've never watched any of the movies, but somehow I know it's Agatha Christie, and I don't know. And so that was like a really fun episode with like all the people kind of like coming up to him like sneakily being like, hey, like maybe like I should have it, and being like, yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, same for me. As I mentioned earlier, this was a transformative comic book for me. As a kid, I was always into different mythologies, Norse mythology, Greek mythology. So this was kind of like a cool crossover.
Yeah.
But also having them with like Japanese myths, Christian religion. And then like, wow, this is like, it was one of the most interesting and craziest things I've ever read. And I loved it. It was just so well done. And just the basic premise of it, like, what if Satan got tired of running of hell and just said, fuck it. Just be like, yeah, that's such a cool thing. And it got, beyond that, it was just an interesting thing about destiny versus free will and things like that. But just seeing all these different characters, like you have Thor and Odin on the left there. On the right, the little girl with the balloon is from the Lords of Chaos. The Lord of Order, they're represented like right behind Dream's shoulder there. And the Lord of Order manifested himself as a cardboard box, which is all kinds of fun. But I mean, I've read and reread this comic book so much that line for line, I loved going through the choices, like what lines did they omit? What words did Gwendolyn Christie emphasize as Satan? And it was just such a cool experience for me because this is one of my favorite comic books ever and something that I reread at least every year because it's just so good. And seeing it in live action, if you asked me back in the 90s, I could never envision something like this coming out because it's so complex and layered that it didn't work. Also, it's just weird, Right. These aren't mainstream comic books. So that's one of the reasons why this changed what comics could be for me. Like it isn't some super powered dude in spandex beating the crap out of some villain, These are abstract things like dream and death and destruction. And then you have all these gods from different pantheons coming together. It was just such a cool experience. I don't know, that I love that. So,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Johan is plowing through this. He only started this week, I believe, but he says, I still have 2 more episodes to finish season 2, but I'm enjoying season 2 more than the first. See, this is interesting. I'm curious about this, but more on that later. Before we get to that, Paul, what did you think of Tom Sturridge this season as Dream/Morpheus?
Again, like the other people, I thought he was really, really good. Not my favorite character of the bunch, that, because of, we'll get into that in a few minutes. But I thought he was really, really good in this. He could have very easily been a one-note character,
Right.
like a very stereotypical moody goth boy, and he wasn't. He brought more to the character, and I thought I thought his performance was really, really good, because he's in there with some big personalities.
Oh yeah.
We mentioned Desire, but he's also got to go up against Gwendolyn Christie, who is imposing, and that's not a comment on her physicality, although obviously she's physically imposing too.
Yeah,
but just
presence.
as a pres, yeah, and all, I know I say this a lot on the show, but he held his own against her.
Yeah, for sure.
And he held his own against a lot of other really good people. So, I'm curious to see where he goes from here.
I love the casting. I'm not very familiar with the actor, but I can't imagine many people doing a better job of playing Dream than him. He has the look down. It's hard to find people that pale and skinny that could act. Sometimes I do get distracted looking at him, because I keep thinking, if Trent Reznor and Robert Pattinson had a baby, it would be Tom Sturridge.
That's funny, because he does remind me of Pattinson, and I could see Pattinson taking on this role.
Yeah, especially with the voice, But he has experience playing pale people also, so I guess that would come in handy. Johan agrees with me. Yes, I love how they bring in characters from so many different mythologies and even include the backstories. Yeah. I mean, and just like altering things like how, the legend of Orpheus, it was supposed to be Apollo and Calliope were his parents, but they made it so that Dream and Calliope were his parents. Johan also agrees that Tom Sturridge definitely belongs in a vampire role. Yes. Maybe that'll be his job in the future.
I don't want him to get typecast though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then if he next plays like Dracula, and then he plays, Ian Curtis in the Joy Division biography, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's only so many roles for like a pale, moody goth boy.
Well, you have vampire, heroin addict.
Yeah.
What else can you do? I mean, he's just talented too. So I
guess he could play Stephen Miller in a movie about the Trump administration. But
I don't know. He seems like I don't know if he's vile enough to play Stephen Miller convincingly. Yeah. So let's talk about the good guys for a bit. Were any of Dream's allies, and it could be the character or the actor or both, but did any of them stand out for you in season 2?
The one that really stood out for me, and this was my favorite character this season, was Delirium.
Yeah.
And the thing for me is characters that are normally kind of that clueless, naive, childish, they can get really annoying after a while.
For sure.
And I don't know what it was about the actress who played her, but she was just adorable the whole time. Like I just, like, normally I'm like, okay, enough, go away. You're being stupid. And I really just wanted to give her a reassuring hug. Like every time she said doggy, yeah, which is such a childish way of saying, I don't know, but it was like, oh God, come here, hug, okay, you're okay, it's okay.
Or like when the dragon guardian had her by the he was holding her by the teeth and swinging her around. She's like, I really enjoyed the swingy part. But
Yeah,
yeah,
she has some really fun and funny lines in this, and it was also like her and Dream together because they're such polar opposites that like
yeah.
watching the two of them together was really fun and although what I really want to see is her and Desire in a sitcom together because the two of them would have a lot of fun.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I think Desire would play her too much. But I agree with you about Delirium. She was my favorite of Dream's allies this season, and I agree with the reason why. Because a character like this could be silly and childish, but she always played it like, that she's insane and, and not all there, and her brains are scrambled, and I love that about her, and especially when you think about that she used to be Delight. Like, what would cause Delight to become Delirium? And I love the portrayal of this character. I forget what the thing is called. Heterochromia, like when your eyes are different colors. I always found
Yeah.
I always found that really attractive, which is why Mila Kunis is so hot to me. But yeah, I love that about her. Her hair colors changing, her dilapidated clothing. And it's similar but different. It almost reminds me of Phoebe from Friends, where it would be so easy to make that character silly and stupid, but the character always, I don't know, there was always something grounded and real about her. And I think that was a testament to Lisa Kudrow, to how she played it. So yeah, like
although Phoebe had like a weird dark side to her sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
Like she'd be like, when I used to live on the street,
Yeah.
and you're like, what? And she'd be like, like when I knifed a guy in prison once, I'm like, you're like, what?
Although Delirium did have that line on Destiny, is like, there are paths I know that are not in your garden, and things that I know that are not in your book. And I'm like, oh, like, I thought that was pretty cool. Like,
yeah.
Johan says about Tom Sturridge, his tone put me to sleep a few times. Yeah, and I think that's intentional. The only thing I would have changed, I love the way that Dream's voice sounded, but in my head, because in the comics, his word bubbles are black background and white text. And for some reason in my head, that his voice sounds a little hollow and metallic, kind of similar to what they did with Julia Garner's voice for the Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four movie. So that's kind of the effect that I wanted him to have throughout the series. But
you wanted him to have like a vocal effect that like echoey or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
But I also understand why they didn't do it, because that could have been distracting as hell. So
right.
And I also got over it after a few episodes in season 1, so it wasn't a big deal for me. But did you have thoughts on his voice, and should it be monotone? Because he is Dream. Sandman puts people to sleep. So
yeah, I didn't honestly give it any thought, and I don't, again, it's been so long since I read the comics, I didn't remember his thought bubbles being in black. Although I did, after the first season, I went back and I read the first volume of the comics, and I was like, oh wow, this is really faithful.
Yeah.
They did a really faithful job with it. So
they took some things out. Some things were gender swapped for reasons, like they couldn't use John Constantine, so they had Joanna.
is that why? Oh, I wondered why that was. Okay.
Yeah, because they had the one from the Arrowverse, that version. And the same thing with Lucifer. They didn't want to go with the Arrowverse version of Lucifer because the show made him a detective for just to have him
right. And it's funny because when Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer starts to walk off, I was like half waiting for her to transform into that guy.
To Tom Ellis?
As if to say that this has all been a prequel to that show. But because he does in that show.
Yes.
He does the whole premise is that he's bored and he goes to Earth and
Right.
he ends up like
he does run the club in the comics, but he does not become a detective. So,
right.
Yeah.
I liked that show. That was a fun show.
Yes. I mean, Tom Ellis is fantastic.
Yeah.
And Lauren German is gorgeous. And
Yes.
what's her face who plays the crime lab?
Amy Garcia. The adorable Amy Garcia. Yeah. She again another good cast. I mean,
yeah,
of people. So
let's move on to the baddies in this season. Whoops, I did that wrong.
Why is that so big?
Yeah, let me edit that.
That was rather large.
Yes. Okay.
Something
so weird. Bad guys.
Well, here's the thing. I did not have a favorite bad guy, but I did have a least favorite bad guy.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if I had to pick somebody as a favorite bad person, maybe the woman who played Hippolyta. But I don't feel like they gave I don't know. It's hard to call her bad because I understood why she did what she did. It was just that she was misled. But the one that really stuck out for me was Loki. And in part because trying to play Loki after Tom Hiddleston is like trying to play saxophone after John Coltrane. Like you're just, or guitar after Jimmy Page, or trying to act after Meryl Streep, or whatever analogy you want to use. I don't envy anybody who tries to play that part. But it kind of seemed like he had that on his mind as well. And was trying a little too hard to be very different from Hiddleston. And I don't know, it never really worked for me.
I liked him. I think Freddie Fox is just that kind of actor. I love Loki and Puck as a couple. Prince Joffrey is so good at playing such a bastard, and seeing these two together and seeing them as a couple, I thought was fantastic. I just love this dastardly duo. And yeah, I liked Freddie Fox's take on Loki. And yeah, what's Joffrey's real name? Jackie Gleason? Is that right?
Yeah, it's like Jack Gleason or something.
Jack Gleason.
It is something like Jackie Gleason. Yeah. It took me a minute to figure out who that guy was, though. I was like, wait, who is that? And then I had to look. I'm like, yeah. Because it's been so long since I've seen him that I was like, wait a minute, who is that? I'm like, it's that little.
But he looks the same, right? His face, he hasn't aged much at all. The one that threw me off was the actor that played Cluracan from the Fairy Realm.
Oh, why?
Because he played Nikki Sixx in the Dirt movie. So
I never saw the Dirt movie.
So I'm like, why is Nikki Sixx visiting Dream? So that's the only other thing I know him from. Douglas Booth, I believe, is the actor's name.
Oh.
So I'm like, whoa, Nikki Sixx is like.
Yeah, see, I read the book. I never saw the movie.
It's pretty entertaining. Fun now to watch, especially with Ozzy recently passed, because Ozzy is like the coolest in the movie and in the book.
What's funny for me is I've been watching the Alien Earth show. I don't know if you've been watching it.
I have not heard things.
It's really cool, but the funny thing for me was the main lady in it. Is the daughter of the dad/coach from Friday Night Lights. And in the Sex Pistols movie, she played Chrissie Hynde of the Pretenders.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm like, really? Okay. So, anyway.
I like Chrissie Hynde and the Pretenders. But I also liked them best when Johnny Marr was in the band for a little while. I'm a big Johnny Marr fan.
I went to see them at the Worcester Centrum. Iggy Pop opened.
Oh,
that was way cool.
Yeah.
But the thing I remember about the Pretenders was it was right around the time that song don't get me wrong, which was like a
Yeah.
big pop hit,
Yeah.
and they opened with that. And there was a yuppie. We were in college, and there was a yuppie couple behind us, literally doing this the whole time during the song. And as soon as the song was over, they got up and left. Like, I'm convinced that they and there's no way in hell they went to go see Iggy. Like, they went because they wanted to hear that song, and once they heard it, they were like, "Oh, we can go home now early. Bye," and left.
Sure. I mean,
Yeah,
they feel like they got their money's worth, then why not?
I guess so. Well, don't forget, this is 1987, so concert tickets were $25 or something like that. They weren't like $300.
So we have lots more things to talk about the Sandman, but before we get to that, Paul, can we get an update on your website and what is new?
So lots of cool stuff this week. For some reason, there are a lot of short story collections coming out the last couple of weeks, including one that I wanted to highlight because I thought you would find it interesting. It is called Before Superman, Superheroes of the Radium Age.
Ooh.
And it is... Okay, so the Radium Age is a series of books put out by MIT. Let's sink that in for a minute. And all of them are like stories from 1870, 1880 through 1940. So like real early science fiction stuff. And all of the stuff that's in this book are all hero and superhumans. And all of which predate Superman, by the way. So it's all short stories and novel excerpts and things like that from like sort of the early age of science fiction and the pulp magazines and all that. So there's an interview on the website with the guy who put it together, Josh Glenn, talk about how he decided what to put in, what not to put in, and stuff like that. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight is it's going to run on Monday because I literally just got the code for it. Is I'm doing a review of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which for people who don't know, it's a modern remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 with updated visuals and updated controls. So it's not a fixed camera anymore. It's got the player control camera. But so far, otherwise, it seems very faithful to the original game. Although there is one sort of weird little thing. They said that on the PlayStation, so the original PlayStation version had a game called Snake versus Monkey, where you had to go around and capture the monkeys from this game called Ape Escape.
Yeah.
But they couldn't bring that version to Xbox or PC. So Konami made it Snake versus Bomberman, which I think is a fun workaround.
Very cool.
So yeah, so that's that'd be Monday or Tuesday, depending on how much time I have to play over the weekend. So
excellent. So guys, if you want to check out Paul's latest articles, go to paulsemel.com. There's always excellent stuff to read there. And if you would like to support the website, why don't you consider picking up a Proton VPN subscription? You can get up to 64% off if you use my link, go.getproton.me/sh10j, as in OJ Simpson. There's a direct link in the Facebook and YouTube descriptions. You can check that out. We also have some new RPadTV merch. Thanks to the 3 people that picked up shirts. You can get this Joe Coy, Olivia Haley, and RPadTV shirt. I have friends everywhere. We also have a Lumpia, that's how I roll shirt. I should take a screen of that because that's funny. And RPadTV certified guapo. Just go to Amazon.com, search for RPadTV, and pick up a shirt if you are so inclined. Treat yourself and treat me. So now back to our show and us. So next, Paul, I wanted to talk about the critical response to Sandman Season 2. The scores, both critically and the audience scores, weren't as high as Season 1. Do you agree or disagree with that? We already had Johan saying that he enjoyed season 2 more, but these scores don't quite reflect that. We have season 1 getting an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, and season 2 is currently at 74%. How did you feel about the quality?
I will say this. I think they are even for me. I think that I enjoyed season more very slightly more, but only because it was new. If that makes any sense. Like, I knew going into season 2 what the quality was going to be like, whereas when I went into season 1, I had no idea. And it could have very easily been a botched job, because I mean, how many times have I can't tell you how many times I've seen a trailer for something that was going to be on Netflix. I sat down, started to watch the show, 5 minutes in, I'm like, ugh. All right, never mind. That happens all the time. Literally, if my Netflix list is 20 things deep, I probably end up watching 5 to completion. And so going into the first season, I didn't know what I was worried, but I was hopeful, and then it more than exceeded my expectations. So that's literally the only reason why I would say that I liked the first season more. It's kind of like the first time you go to a really good restaurant, it's probably going to be your favorite. Because after you go to a restaurant a bunch of times, you're like, yeah, I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm going to have. I know what it's going to taste like, and unless they really screw something up, you're fine. So that's just me.
I can understand objectively saying that they're even and having preferences for different reasons. I'll agree with Johan here in that I preferred season 2, mainly because Season of Mist is such a big deal for me. So seeing it adapted is also a big deal. But objectively, I can see why people like season 1, just because David Thewlis is so good at acting. I thought he had the best performance in the whole show throughout, but I'm a big fan of him as an actor. Ever since I saw him early on in that DiCaprio movie about Arthur Rimbaud? I think it's Total Eclipse or something.
Oh yeah. I think you're right.
So that was the first thing I saw David Thewlis in, and I thought he was phenomenal then, and ever since I just such a big fan of his work. And also had Sarah Niles in it from a lot of British shows, but also from Dr. Sharon and Ted Lasso. So I loved seeing her in season 1 as well. But yeah, for me, I liked season 2 a little bit more just because of Season of Mist. I love Delirium, and I really enjoyed the Orpheus storyline.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about this in a minute, but I wonder how much that 14-point difference isn't because of Gaiman.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, because that stuff all broke. Was it early this year or late last year? But
it was late. I think it was late last year, but it was in between the 2 seasons. It was before they started work. I think it's before they started working on season 2, because I don't think he was involved in season 2, or maybe he started to be involved in it and then that broke. So,
I remember it a little bit differently. I remember, and again, we'll touch on this. We'll talk more in detail later, but for some reason, I remember all that news hitting when there was multiple accusations, and then the week after or days after, Netflix is like, yeah, we're done after season 2. So I'm like,
yeah.
Let's talk about the relationships in the show, and I'm talking about the characters. What was the relationship that stood out to you most in season 2? And there's so many good pairings that it's
I'm gonna go back to Delirium and Dream.
Okay.
Just the two of them palling around together, and just some of the way she would say things, like she could have very easily said yeah, that's fine, but she's like, well, I think maybe we should do this and maybe do that, and then I don't know, and this and that, but ultimately I have to say yes.
And he
would just be sitting there
She would use the word muchly a lot. That was one of her favorites.
Yeah.
Which we don't, not enough people use that word.
No.
Obviously the big relationship throughout the series is death and dream, but that was something I expected from the comics. But the way delirium was portrayed was, I didn't have a set expectation of that. So that was interesting.
Right. Yeah. I think again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the 2 seasons. Like, I know that we knew from the first season that the relationship between death and dream was an interesting one. I didn't know what to expect from seeing delirium and dream, who are such polar opposites, go, because again, it could have gone horribly awry.
Right.
So I think it's more of a matter of expectations being exceeded.
Right. Totally understandable. I almost want to say, seeing how Dream evolved with his relationship with his son Orpheus, because he was, at the beginning, way back in ancient Greece, he was like a pragmatic hard ass, but kind of unfeeling, almost similar to his early relationship with Nada, in that he was kind of, he was a petulant asshole.
Yeah.
But then he evolves over thousands of years, and he realizes how much he loves his son and makes the ultimate sacrifice for him. And I loved seeing how, even though he felt he was done wrong by his father, Orpheus still maintained the love he had for his dad. And that's something that Dream says later when he visits his dad, that, many sons can't help but to love their fathers. So, and it was also cool seeing an actor play a severed head for several episodes. I mean, that's a lot. You don't have a lot to work with when you're just here up. So
right.
You gotta make everything count. And that way it reminds me of Norm Macdonald, who, not much of a physical comedian, but his expressions with his face were always was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, the controversy. If you guys are not familiar with Neil Gaiman, in addition to being a legendary writer, he also has multiple accusations of rape and sexual assault and sex trafficking, and he has kind of been canceled. And I wanted to talk to you. I actually want to do an episode about this, maybe about separating the artist from the art. And there are some cases where I can't. Like, I took Michael Jackson off of my iTunes because I can't listen to his music anymore without thinking about his alleged crimes. I'm happy I was never too into Kanye because he ended up being a dick. I don't know. Are there any artists like that for you, Paul? And did you have any difficulty enjoying Neil Gaiman's work?
So what I think I've said on this show before, and will probably say again, is under normal circumstances, I think it's good to take a position and to stick with it, whether it's easy or hard. But when it comes to the canceling of a creative, it's not really that cut and dry. And the example that I always give is Miles Davis, the jazz musician. Miles Davis abused his wife.
Right.
That's bad. Miles Davis was very open about the fact that he abused his wife, and he was very apologetic about the fact that he abused his wife. Do you take that into account? Do you take into account that his music was always instrumental, so it's not like it was about him beating his wife, or even just about his wife? He's dead. He doesn't profit from me.
He's dead?
Yes.
Nobody told me.
Yes. He's been dead a very long time. He doesn't benefit from somebody like me going out and buying one of his albums. Do you take that into account? So when it came to Neil Gaiman, who is none of those things,
he's alive.
I think
doesn't
you have to
music.
Yes, he doesn't play music, but also I think you have to kind of go with how you feel. Like, you kind of right. Like, if you can listen to Michael Jackson now, fine. If you can't listen to Michael Jackson now, fine. If you can listen to some Michael Jackson, but not things like Pretty Young Thing, fine. Whatever you feel most comfortable doing. When it came to Neil, I'm a huge fan. And in fact, maybe like 3 months before the story first broke, I had read the last book of his that I needed to read. Like I'd gone through, like over the last two previous years, I had made a concerted effort to catch up on all the stuff of his I'd never read. And then this happened. Coming into this season of Sandman, though, none of that bothered me. I was waiting for something. To happen. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But when the first trailer came, nothing. When the second trailer came, nothing. When I thought about watching the show because I was, signing up for Netflix, no. When I watched the show, nothing. And the thing is, it's not like I certainly don't approve of what he did, but it's not like these accusations against him don't resonate with me, because about 3 or 4 months ago, the episode of The Simpsons that he was on TV. And I'm referring to the one where he plays himself, where a bunch, because he was on twice. Once he did the voice of the cat in a Coraline parody, but then he also played himself in this episode where they were Homer and Lisa, like Homer, Bart, and Lisa are going to write like a children's book, and I kind of was sitting there watching him, and I was like,
right.
And so I kind of expected this thing to potentially do that. And I think part of the reason why it didn't is because he's not in it. It's the same reason I can watch Rick and Morty and I don't really think about, Justin Roiland and the shit that he pulled on people. Because again, even though he did the voice, him personally isn't in it. Right. I think that makes a difference to a certain, and it doesn't, not to everybody, but I'm just saying, like, for me.
No, I understand that. I agree with your point about taking a stand and sticking with it. I'm very big on that in terms of being consistent. One thing you mentioned about Miles Davis was the remorse. And I think, if a person has remorse for the bad things they did, I think that's massive. As far as I know, Neil Gaiman is maintaining that he didn't do anything wrong and that these stories the accusations against him are misrepresented. I think that's the word he used. So he does not seem to have remorse. The other thing is that if we're talking about his books or his comics, they're so, those are such small productions. There's so few people involved compared to a massive Netflix show.
Right. Well, that's another thing.
Yeah. And and it's almost disrespectful because of the author of the source material has been accused of doing vile things that all of a sudden dozens of creatives, whether they're behind the camera or in front of the camera, have to suffer for that. So it's
right. It would be like if you threw out all the DVDs you had of every movie that Harvey Weinstein produced.
Yes.
You know, like he's not in them. He didn't have anything, like all he did is like front the money for them for the most part. Like,
yeah. Like, I mean, he was instrumental in Kevin Smith's career. Do I like Kevin Smith movies less because of Harvey? No, but even then Kevin has, disavowed Harvey. So that helps.
Right.
But yeah, it is a tricky situation.
It is, it is. Cause, and like, I mean, the Neil one for me really pisses me off though, more than a lot of the other ones, because a lot of the people who have gotten caught up in this stuff and accused or did this stuff are people I don't necessarily care that much about. Like I was never a big fan of Louis C.K. Harvey Weinstein's a movie producer. Like his movies don't mean anything to me. Neil, however, I'm pissed at him because he had still has so much to offer.
Yeah.
You know, he's not, I mean, he's not, I don't know how old he is, but he's not old. You know, it's not like Woody Allen. Like Woody Allen hasn't made a movie I've been interested in years, and he's probably never going to make another movie I'm interested in. So, okay.
Neil is 64.
Okay. So 64, especially for a writer, he might have had a good 20 years left in him. 20, 25, maybe even 30, you know. I mean, and also he always seemed like somebody who appreciated people and appreciated women. It sort of reminds me of like Joss Whedon, like when all those accusations about Joss Whedon came out being like a jerk, like you were like, him? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and
you know,
considering the way he wrote women and
Yeah.
transgender characters or androgynous characters in the 90s, so you would think that he was a progressive, decent dude.
Right. Right. Like if it came out that Greg Gutfeld like was a child molester or like, you know, or a rapist or something, you'd be like, gee, just couldn't have seen that coming. You know,
Right.
it's kind of like, you know, like, but I don't know. But if George Clooney came out, you'd be like, oh, don't do that. So, and I think also, and I wonder to myself whether this had anything to do with it, is the fact that unlike some of these people who have admitted it or been convicted, you know, like Bill Cosby, there's been no, it's still a he said, she said thing with Neil, you know? And in fact, really, we haven't heard from either of them. Yeah.
I believe
well,
eight.
Is it up to 8? Okay.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, with that, like, there's always the question of, is it that everybody now feels that they can come out and say what happened to them, or is it people piling on or whatever? You never know. I don't know, you know.
Of course. Yeah.
And the fact that like we still don't know, because there's been nothing about this since this all went down. You know,
right.
Months ago.
Nothing has been proven in court.
Right. Just nothing has been proven. Nothing's been admitted. Nothing's been conceded or anything like that. And it's been kind of out of sight, out of mind. I don't know if we'll ever know. You know.
But do you think will he get a chance to come back? I mean, if you look at, you mentioned Louis C.K., he seems to have recovered, although his accusations weren't as bad. As far as I know, he was just jerking off into a plant while talking to a woman on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, with Louis, right? But Louis C.K. did something very smart, where he basically was like, "Yeah, I did those things.
Yeah.
I made no, yeah, you know, I mean." The thing about being canceled as a public figure is it only really works if you kind of let it work. You know, what's Kathy Griffin got in a lot of trouble because she posed it in a photo with a fake version of Donald Trump's head.
Yeah.
And initially it caused her to lose her concert tour, and I think she lost an endorsement deal. And she kind of went away. She sat on the sidelines for a little while. And then she came back. And now she's touring again. Now she's, you know, like, obviously there's some places she you know, that aren't going to be as amenable to her as others. But her career has rebounded. Other people's career, you know, if you kind of say, like, I'm not gonna accept this, you can kind of get away with it sometimes. Not everybody does.
Yeah. Like, I'm curious. And maybe that's its own episode, but let's say Aziz Ansari was canceled for a little while, but now he has a movie coming out with Keanu Reeves, so he seems to be doing okay. But then you look at someone like James Franco. I almost said Davey, and I did not want to, but James Franco is still canceled.
Well, look at Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, he's not as big as he was when the sugar tits thing happened, but he's still really big. I mean, he got to direct another movie. He's making a new Passion of the Christ. I think he got nominated for an Oscar award. I mean,
yeah,
you know, But then you have somebody like Marilyn Manson who put out a new album and nobody gave a shit. He's going out on tour, and then when they showed his video, congratulations at the Ozzy Osbourne thing, boos.
Oh wow.
Like loud boos. Like, like people were just like, no.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think with Neil, I think it will be really hard for him to make a comeback because, as I said, there are a lot of people who thought he was one of the good ones.
Right.
And now we see that he may not have been.
Right.
Louis C.K. whacking off while talking to Sarah Silverman, like, yeah, that tracks. Like,
he looks
that didn't
like
surprise.
that
Yeah, like that didn't shock people. And one of the things about Neil Gaiman, I think, which is interesting, is he had a lot of female fans.
Yes.
And who were super into him, and they feel, excuse me, very betrayed.
Right. Well, allegedly
he
groomed some of those fans, is what the accusations are.
Right.
And that his ex-wife helped traffic them. I don't know. This is getting
I don't know. Here's the thing. What I think is interesting to ponder is, let's say for the sake of argument that he never comes back and then he dies, as we all do, and whoever handles his estate realizes that he's written 5 complete, fully edited, ready to go novels. Do people read them?
Someone will.
Well, yeah. I'm sure somebody will publish them, but I don't know if I'll read them. I don't know if his fans will read them. Certainly the first one will get published, but the other ones, maybe not. Depends on how. I don't know. Again, he's dead. He's not benefiting. You know.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, when this stuff broke, Netflix shortly announced that they were ending this after 2 seasons. The showrunner said that he originally envisioned the show as 3 seasons with 11 episodes each. He said that originally he thought season 2 would have been Seasons of Myths and the Orpheus arc, and then season 3 would have been focused on the Kindly Ones. Did you feel rushed at all in season 2's storytelling?
No. I think I would have, though, if I didn't know what had happened. Like, I knew going in that that this was the second and final season, and I knew obviously knew what happened with Neil. I think that if I didn't know that, like if we didn't know any of that stuff, and like I just watched, and all of a sudden we get to the episode and it's like, wait, he's leaving? What?
Yeah.
Because that, like, even though, like, I like the guy who took over, another Game of Thrones guy, that did kind of, like, I was like, wow, okay, this seems really, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, because I can't imagine them continuing the show with that guy. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
You're right. But I did feel a bit rushed. I thought Season of Myths could have had another episode. Orpheus could add another episode, and the Kindly Ones, that I can see how that could have been like a shortened 3rd season. Maybe let's say that's 6 episodes in total. I don't know.
Right. Well, there's 11 volumes of the comic, so they could have gone even longer than 3 seasons if they really wanted to. Yeah,
but a lot of that, there's a lot of side stories and focuses on other characters. Even in Seasons of Mist, there's a standalone issue about a dead boy that has nothing to do with what was going on in Dreams Realm. But yeah, there's a lot of content that they could have done. But Heinberg said that if he was focusing only on Morpheus, 3 seasons is what he would have wanted. But I did feel a bit rushed. Not tremendously, but still. Let us end things with this, Paul. If you could be besties with one of the Endless, who would it be and why?
I gotta go with Barnabas because he's a talking dog.
He's not
And
an
he's
endless.
funny.
No.
And that way you'd get to hang out with Delirium as well,
Ah,
who seems cool. But like, probably, I think if you were really hanging out with her as opposed to just seeing her for a few minutes here, a few minutes there, then maybe she'd get on your nerves. Because you know that, like, if you try to get her to come meet you for brunch, she'd show up an hour late, be all flaky, and
yes.
I know I live in Los Angeles and everybody's flaky, but still. So I'm gonna go. But Barnabas, like, imagine being able to tell a dog, "No, don't piss on my carpet." Okay.
Would it
What do
also
you,
be voiced
Barnabas?
by,
What do you want?
would your Barnabas also be voiced by Steve Coogan?
No, he'd be voiced by the guy who was the voice of Matthew the Bird.
Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
See,
you go.
I'm gonna go with Destruction. I think he would be the best hang. He likes painting, writing poetry, playing guitar. He likes cooking for his guests. And if you have any problems, he can just destroy them. So I think he would be the most handy friend to have out of the bunch. Yeah, he just seems like a good guy. And despite his role being responsible for destructing everything,
Right.
he cares about humanity, and it pains him that he has to be in charge of destruction. But yeah. But it's more about
and he would also get you free copies of Call of Duty.
For me, it's more
$60 value.
It's more about having someone that'll make food for me and play guitar with me. I think that's the real reason I will hang out with Destruction. So yeah, that'll be a wrap for our review of the Sandman season 2. If you guys have any thoughts on the show, would love to hear them. Please leave a comment. Paul and I will be back next week where we will be reviewing and discussing Eyes of Wakanda, the Black Panther spinoff that also is this no, it is not the first. I believe it's the second appearance of Iron Fist in the MCU proper, in a Iron Fist. So I'm excited about that. And I also love that Paul leaves his iOS gestures on so we can do cool things like that. But yeah, go to paulsemel.com. Please like, subscribe, and thanks for hanging out with RPadTV. See you guys next time after I do this gesture. Bye.